All right, this lesson is the shapes of bones. There are four bones, or there's four bone shapes, but actually there's four bone shapes, and one of the shapes can have two different shapes. I know it seems weird. So overall, there's really five, but there's four categories. The one that's going to be most important for you in this class is long bones, because you have to know the anatomy of a long bone, the epiphysis, the diaphysis, the medullary cavity, the compact bone, all that stuff. That's on that worksheet you have. So here we go. Long bones. They are exactly what they sound like. They're long. It could be a large long bone like your femur, or it could be a small long bone like a phalange. Even the little phalanges in your pinky toe, your little piggy, are considered long bones. If it has two ends and a shaft, it's a long bone. There's often marrow inside long bones. Examples include your femur, tib, fib, phalanges, metatarsals, humerus, ulna, radius, and metacarpals. So your thigh, your shins, your fingers, your feet, your arm, your lower arm, and your hands, and your fingers. On the back of the worksheet you all have in your table right now, you have the anatomy of a long bone. If we don't get to this in class today, your job this weekend is to label that diagram. I'm going to tell you what page to do that on. All right, so if there's long bones, Eva, what must there also be? Short bones, that's right. There are short bones. Now, they're not going to be a perfect cube. They're cube-shaped, but not a perfect cube, so that's why I crossed out that cube. These basically include your carpals, which are your wrist bones, and your tarsals, which are your ankle bones. But there's also another type of short bone that's shaped kind of in a rounded fashion, not a cube fashion, but rounded. And there's only one bone that's rounded. That's your patella. This is the sesamoid shape. So we have long, we have short, we have sesamoid. And the only type of sesamoid bone is your patella, which is your kneecap. If you want to look up here, you can see your patella is rounded. It's not cubed. All right. Next, we have flat bones. They're thin, flattened, and they can be curved. Your sternum, which is your breastbone, your scapula, which is your shoulder blade, your ribs, and then most of the bones of your cranium, frontal, occipital, parietal, temporal, sphenoid. Most of those bones are going to also be considered flat bones. You really aren't going to see marrow in these, or the short bones for that matter. And finally, we have the last shape, which this is just the reject, I guess you could say. We had to make a category where all of the bones that don't fit in the first three categories don't fit. We just call these irregular bones. There's really nowhere else to put them. They're not flat, they're not long, they're not short, they're just weird shaped. They don't fit into any of the other classes. Your vertebrae and your hips. That's about it. Your vertebrae and your hips. They have different areas of flatness, and see, flat would be your ilium, but what about your ischium and your pubis? They're not that flat. They're kind of thicker. So, and they're all one bone. You have to consider the whole thing. Okay. We're going to stop there.